Okay, we're live. Hi, I'm Kristen Daniel with Pentorship. Thank you for tuning in to our Work in the New Economy series, part two, coding boot camps, freelance platforms, and startup accelerators. What does it all mean to returning citizens? We're here today with four amazing panelists with different backgrounds in the areas of technology and entrepreneurship. And without further ado, we'll get started first with an introduction of our panelists. Um, we'll we can start with Divine from Black Group. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself and your business?
Name's Divine. Founded ago. I came into the technology industry via famed tech VC Ben Horowitz. I actually befriended him via Twitter. We struck up an unlikely friendship. Then he started basically mentor me, and our relationship grew from that into me coming to technology. Him exposing me to technology. I was never exposed to technology before, or the industry itself, and he kind of exposed me to it. And really, probably like a year and a half since I known him, a year and 7 months, and then 7 months ago I started my company, Black Group, and we're trying to create a fintech product for underserved communities.
Thank you. And Del Medina.
Hi, thank you so much for having this conversation. I'm super excited to be here with all of you. My name is Del Medina. I'm one of the partners at Avion Ventures. We are a pre-accelerator. We specifically are working within the Latino community. But I think a lot of the information I'm going to share here is really for, like you said, citizens who are coming back, because I think there's a great opportunity right now and we have to seize it. So thank you.
Thank you. Kenzie Biggins.
Yes, my name is Kenzie Biggins. I run a virtual executive assistant service. So a lot of our focus is on how we create a service-enabled tech industry. I have a little bit of an untraditional background to get here, which is more of a creative background and corporate America background, but I'm happy to be here as part of this conversation and looking at how we can accelerate people forward.
Thank you. Richard Grundy.
Hey, my name is Richard Grundy. I'm the co-founder of a nonprofit called Journey. We're 501c3 focused on introducing and educating people in our communities on all the opportunities within technology and that come along with technology. We're working on a full-time coding immersive program that we're developing to be more accessible to the people in underserved communities, in addition to a lot of workshops we're working on. I have an untraditional background also. My prior career was in sales and marketing. Went to a coding program in New York, and here I am.
Thank you. And I'm Kristen Daniel, founder of Pentorship. We're a nonprofit here based in Atlanta, and Pentorship's mission is to develop educational products that allow for more exposure to 21st century skills for individuals who are currently incarcerated or returning home. And the way that we do this is by developing dynamic and data-driven curriculum and providing that curriculum to other organizations, so reentry organizations and companies who provide training to our target student. And we test that curriculum live in a correctional setting here, which not only allows us to have a really nice sample size of students to see how we may iterate on the curriculum, but it also allows us to provide the course for free to a local Atlanta-based prison. And those inmates that take our test course, as we call it, have an opportunity to receive credit within the system for job training. So it works out really well. And over time, what we would like to become is the connecting fabric of organizations across the country that are providing a wide array of programming. So if you were to think of us as just one supplier in the larger supply chain of organizations that focus on employment training, education, housing, family reunification. There are just a lot of amazing companies and organizations doing things throughout the nation, and we want to make sure that they are able to touch the people that they work with very relevant educational information, and to be sure that they're ready for the 21st century workforce. So just a little bit of background about why we are having this conversation. I started Pentorship about 5 years ago, and the world has changed very drastically since it started. Initially, Pentorship was founded solely to encourage entrepreneurship amongst returning citizens. And as we developed and grew and learned more about where the pain points are for returning citizens, the outside world also changed as well. So here we are today in 2015, and now entrepreneurship is not limited in thought to self-employment. It's actually a very important aspect of all types of job training, specifically preparation for the 21st century workforce. So we focus on entrepreneurial thinking within the realm of entrepreneurship, and we consider that along with things like critical thinking, collaboration, creativity, adaptability. These are all skills that are going to be required for success in the 21st century. So we've evolved quite a bit over the years, and something that stood out to me along the journey to where we are today is that I would meet people who were they had startups. I took on some freelance work, helping them and doing different consulting projects, and I would keep meeting founders and potential employers who were open to hiring someone with a record, but the skill sets, like I had no one to refer to them in order to take advantage of the opportunities that actually did exist. And so it really taught me a lot about how much more collaboration can occur between people out in the private sector, in the tech world, business world, education world, along with reentry, probational officers, reentry counselors, social workers. There are just so many different aspects to making sure that people return home successfully. And so we started this series just as one small effort to begin the conversation and to bridge some of the information gap that exists between the people who are kind of considered in the criminal justice, social justice field, and those here in the private sector. So the Work in a New Economy series is simply just an exploration of what work will look like in the future and what it really is now, honestly. And we are in today's session is part 2 of that series, and we hope to continue the discussion. So I have the panelists, and we will use a question format, target questions to them based on what I know about their background. Unfortunately, we do not have a Q&A today for our broadcast, but we would love for you to reach out to us with any questions or concerns. And I'll post our website is back here, pentorship.org, but we'll also post more information about the session today on YouTube. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so let's go through what I want to do is first, for someone who has never heard of any of the things that we're talking about, let's just kind of get a brief overview of what these things are in general. So, Del, can you tell us a little bit about what a startup accelerator is and what the purpose of a startup accelerator is?
Well, let's start with defining what a startup is, because there's a big difference between a startup and actually a small business. A startup is finding something that can be repeatable and scalable. So are you going to create a product, a service, a platform, a hardware tool of something that can be repeatable and scalable? And by repeatable, it means that's something that people are going to use on a regular basis, and scalable means that you're going to go from 100 users to 1,000 users to 10,000 to 100,000 to a million. And how do you make that growth happen really, really quickly? Learning along the way. And so there's a lot of accelerators out there. We run a pre-accelerator. An accelerator is 90 days in one place at one time. You can, there's the Y Combinator, there's Techstars, there's 500 Startups. There's a lot of local and university-run accelerators also that I think are important for people to check out in their localities, so that you don't always have to come to Silicon Valley, though I love it here. And we run a pre-accelerator, so it's a program that happens before you're ready to be a part of an accelerator. The reason it's important to understand the difference between small business and an accelerator or a startup is because different businesses need different tools, and they also need different skill sets. And you need to know who you are and what it is that you want to build, so that you can actually reach out to learn those skill sets and get access to those tools. There's a lot of great things online for both small businesses and startups, and it's all a matter of educating yourself, having a great amount of stamina, and also having the right mindset to be able to go out there and be successful.
Thank you. Kenzie, you are, so Uniquely Virtual is one type of platform in the world of virtual work. Can you tell us a little bit about what specifically Uniquely Virtual does versus what maybe a freelance platform looks like, so that people understand for context?
Definitely. So we're in the process of adding more structure to the idea of a freelance platform. So instead of just having freelancers and contractors, we actually hire our team members who then take care of our clients, and we do this all with the support of a proprietary software platform. So freelancers are a great option that's needed because you need area experts and different people who have different specialties in different places, versus we're all about adding structure, a corporate structure, to the idea of what you may normally have gone to for a freelancer before.
Thank you. And can you give us an example of, walk us through the process of someone who is working as, a contractor or freelancer on your platform?
Yeah, so somebody working on our platform, so first of all, it's a little bit different because when we look at our structure right now, it is based on the idea of an employee, and it's also based on background checks because we have a number of executives and companies where we're dealing with a high level of sensitive information for them. So for them, it's not a place they necessarily feel as comfortable taking a risk, but part of our future strategy is how do we incorporate more freelancers that can take on smaller projects, which wouldn't incorporate what our clients would consider a risk, and even having the idea of runners for people that can go out and actually move products around for our clients and even help them as far as organizing or building things within their homes or offices. So we're trying to take some different looks about how we incorporate different areas of the workforce. And I think a part of it is when you're looking at a company, is it that they're employing people or they're looking at contractors? And when you're looking at contractors, for yourself, it means, one, I can really find and hone a skill that I know that I can do amazingly well, and that I can build a small business base around it, which means you're not pinned to one employer, but you can actually work with a variety of people. One of the joys and challenges of working with a variety of people means that you have to be willing to also go out and grow your business. So it's not a, hey, I know the skill, everybody's going to come to me. Now, if you're amazing and word of mouth works for you, everybody might come to you. Mm-hmm. But there are amazing opportunities out there. I think about all the time my father, who was a criminal attorney, and would actually have people that he represented do work for him if they could not pay him. So he helped several people build businesses from doing it. But part of that process as a family, we had to teach them how to market themselves so people knew about them and their skills.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Richard, well, you want to tell us a little bit about, so the computer programming training from two sides. You've had the opportunity to complete a very large or nationally known program, but then you've also started your own. Tell us a little bit about like the purpose of boot camps versus what someone may decide to major in, like when they're majoring in computer science. What's the difference? Like, what are the difference in the goals, and what's the purpose of a boot camp, a coding boot camp, versus, hey, I'm just gonna spend 4 years in college studying computer science?
Sure. So computer science, I think, is a very broad, a broad group of a ton of knowledge to learn, right? Over a 4-year degree. You're taking a lot of different college courses involving English, math, science, a lot of different things. With the coding boot camp, you just get directly to learning how to program a web application or iOS application or an Android application. So you're learning those core skills that you need to actually build a product. So what happened was, or the reason why the way that boot camps got started was because there was such a need for more developers that these businesses had and that these startups needed, that they just wanted to start teaching the core skills that someone needed to build an app or to maintain an app. So they're skipping over a lot of the foundational knowledge that someone may need as far as computer science, but as far as just getting something out to market, which is what a lot of startups want to do. You just want to get a product, get it out, collect feedback, and iterate on it again. The boot camps kind of filled that void and that need that they had. They're very popular all across the country now because there's a lot of people. The developers, they get a great wage, a great salary. So there's a high need of people that are trying to get into the boot camps, and there's a high need of good developers for all of these startups and these large companies.
Okay, thank you. And Divine, I'll ask you from a perspective, because you represent an actual company, but you also understand the process of reintegrating into society, right? And going straight from tech. The tech world is that's a pretty advanced track to take, right? Would you like to tell us a little bit more about what was it like when you returned to society and people were talking about coding boot camps, startup accelerators, and virtual work? Like, share with us what it's like to hear about the things that we're talking about and then become interested in it and actually begin the process of pursuing it. Uh-oh, got you on mute, I'm sorry.
Okay, no problem. Those that don't know, on the panel, I had an 8th grade education, self-taught beyond that, a decade of incarceration, and I had no tech background. Being reintegrated into society was I'd say a dynamic and a really arduous struggle to really make it and make it happen. Especially when we have no support system, anybody outside that's prepared for your release. So during my time incarcerated, I really lost like all family and all friends as a support system while I was there. And I was focused. I had to determine in my mind that when I came home, I didn't want to be behind as far as education goes or skill sets go. I knew that I had to do something while I was there to at least be on the same level, if not more advanced, because I was away for so long. So I set my mind to really find something I was passionate about, something I knew I had a skill in or a talent in, and kind of hone that the best way I could. And while I was away, I actually would take advanced education courses, and I would learn things about business plan development, things of that nature. And my particular field, my talent was MCing or hip hop recording artist. And I set my mind on doing that. But I not only set my mind on doing that and honing that skill, but also how could I turn that into a business? So I was already in the mindset of I had to create a business, or
Mm-hmm.
wanted to create a business to control my talent or my work, and benefit from it. So I set my mind to that. When I came home, the harsh realities of not having a support system, not having education or formal education, not having any work experience, I was really at a loss for what to do. So unfortunately, I fell back into what I knew best, being in the streets, hustling and selling drugs. Uh, and that was comfortable for me. It wasn't a challenge there. And when you're dealing with things of that nature, when you're young and you deal with environments and circumstances such as I went through, being in the hood, having a mother who abused drugs, being incarcerated for so long, the psychology is set, right? So I was really going against my own psyche and trying to change, and it wasn't easy. I knew I had great potential. I knew I was much better than selling drugs or hustling, but it was it was so hard to try to, or to actually make that transition or pivot, if you would. So I fell back into recidivism, back and forth to prison. My last time incarcerated, I just really came up with a determined idea. I was 100% dissatisfied with my condition. I was 100% dissatisfied with being incarcerated numerous of times when I knew that I had such great potential to rise above and beyond that. So I think that 100% dissatisfaction was really what caused that change and me to start moving in a direction towards really learning business, learning formal education, entrepreneurship education, and things of that nature. I was blessed to come across Ben Horowitz. I read about him in a periodical, and when I seen that he loved hip hop, again fell back onto my music career and my musical talent, and was like, oh, I could connect with this guy. He loves hip hop. He's a billionaire. I really didn't know much about the technology industry that he was in, but I knew what a VC was at that point. I knew what a VC was, just in theory, actually, right? So anyway, I came home last time about 3 years ago. About a year it took for me to reach out to Ben, and there was some, I guess, some circumstances that kind of led me to do that. I reached out to Ben via Twitter, via technology actually, which is funny. And instead of asking him to finance my music company, I asked him to mentor me. I asked him to mentor me and teach me what he knew. And I use the old adage: you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. You teach a man how to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. And Ben actually, he believed in me and gave me an opportunity and introduced me to technology and the technology industry.
Nice. So you're coming home and you're skipping. I mean, I've never met Ben Horowitz. A lot of people haven't met. You're skipping from returning home from incarceration all the way to meeting one of the top VCs in the country, who has invested in a lot of advanced technology. When did you first hear, when you're meeting people and you began to expand your network and began to understand that you could, angle into tech, and specifically finance tech, did you hear about coding boot camps? Did anyone mention an accelerator to you, or did they just assume that you knew because of the network that you began to build? Did you hear about some of the accelerators that Deldep mentioned, or had you heard anything about these opportunities?
Absolutely not. I knew nothing about the technology industry even existing. I knew nothing about Silicon Valley until I met Ben. That was my first exposure to it.
Got it.
So when Ben embraced me, it was more so a love of hip hop and him wanting to assist me.
Mm-hmm.
He knew my background, he knew my story, and I asked him to mentor me. So I guess he looked at that as an opportunity to help me. Ben's a very genuine dude. He's real. He's down to earth, but he's no nonsense in his thinking and how he moves and what he does and how he does it. And I respected that. So I didn't go to Ben as a entrepreneur,
like pitching, right?
Pitching or looking for funding, right? I went to Ben as somebody who just did hip hop, loved hip hop, read about him, was inspired by his story of why he loved hip hop, and then we connected on that level. So it was a real connection. It was a personal connection, and a real friendship that developed. That I spent a year amongst Ben, back and forth in Silicon Valley, being amongst him and his friends, and everybody around him is involved in tech or as an entrepreneur, and it was really, really, really overwhelming. I just would be quiet, make the introductions or have the introductions made to these individuals, and just tell my story. What I learned in doing that for that whole year was that people were very intrigued with my story. So I decided that I have to do something beyond hip hop. I have to do something beyond rap or beyond music. I have a great opportunity here in this new world that is amazing me. Though it was intimidating, I knew that I had what it took to meet the challenge. And people think that because I met Ben Horowitz, my life got easier. Not at all. When I met Ben Horowitz, my life got harder because of the introductions he made, because of the people I met, the people I was around. People automatically assumed that I was knowledgeable about technology. No, I'm still on the learning curve. I've been learning over the last year and 6-7 months that I've known him, and especially more so since creating my company. I took the fast track, I guess you would. I took a sort of an accelerator. I took an accelerator in a way where I built relationships. And I think that my story allowed me to connect with people on a real human level, to see that despite the odds that we all go through, despite having money, not having money, being a criminal, being non-criminal, having an education, not having an education, I think that we all connected on a human level, to where they saw spiritual gifts in me, or the spiritual aptitudes that I had, or the attributes to succeed, to persevere, to resilience, be resilient, determined, ambitious, and they seen all the makings of something great in me, and I thank those individuals, because I really created real relationships on real levels that have allowed me to excel even faster and farther than even I thought I would. I mean, I never knew about technology. I never knew I would be here. So it's been an amazing journey. I'm looking forward to continuing here, and I think that I can bring great change here, and I think that I was meant to be here.
I love it. And I think that the conversation about resilience and a very self-motivated attitude is a great way to go into the next question, right? Because honestly, the most interesting piece of this entire conversation is, like, I want to hear from all you guys what you think the challenges are, because the accelerators, pre-accelerators, any kind of extra work that you have to do, looking for virtual work, going and signing up for freelance platforms, and you're not sure what your skills are until you take those aptitude tests, or having to cut off the rest of the world while you focus on a coding boot camp. Resilience ties into all of that, and that's what makes it really amazing, right? As we talk about this, for people who have seen been on a journey where they have to develop resilience and self-motivation. Tell me, let's go across the panel and tell me what you think. If you could pick one challenge, and we'll wait to talk about how we'll address the challenge, but if you can pick one challenge, what do you think the biggest challenge is or could be for someone who is returning from prison, may have not had full access to internet or a whole bunch of information? What does what does a pre-accelerator or even accelerator look like? When does that come in the picture? And what is the challenge?
I think it comes into the picture a bit later in the process. In my experience, when people are coming home, the best thing that they can do is focus on one thing and one thing only, and keep themselves grounded, have some great support around them. but also have a goal in mind when you're coming out. I think that if you do not have that, it makes it much harder, because when you come out, at least, you know, having had family members who've come out, like it can be very, very overwhelming. And the world has changed a lot since they came in. Even if you've only been in there 18 months, let me tell you, in 18 months, the world has changed. Boom. It's a very different world. So you have to come out with the right mindset of, what are the things I'm going to do to keep myself healthy and engaged, and what is the one thing I'm going to choose to concentrate on so I don't get overwhelmed? And making sure that you verbalize those things so that people around you can help you keep you safe and healthy. That is the number one thing I would recommend to anybody who has a family members coming out, who's coming out themselves, is that they keep themselves on. I hate the word straight and narrow, because I think it's policing language, you know. I do say concentrated and focused. Keep yourself concentrated and focused. So, for example, if you love to draw, get some design books. If you love to read, get some business books. If you love math, learn some Excel. Choose one thing that you're going to learn, and you're going to give yourself a timeline to do that. It doesn't all have to happen right away, but I think little by little, it'll allow you also to learn about other things. Because if you're going to learn how to do design, guess what's going to happen? You're going to learn how to use a computer. If you're going to learn how to use Excel, you're going to learn how to use a computer or a phone or a tablet. If you're going to learn about business, you're going to learn about how to use a computer. And so you just have to concentrate on that one thing to keep yourself concentrated and focused.
That's great. That's great insight. So concentration and focus. Kenzie, let me start with your question with a real life example that I had occur in my personal life. I had a friend who called me because they had their cousin was incarcerated for about 10 months in federal prison, and it wasn't until I talked to this young lady who also had an 18-month-old that I found out that she knew how to use QuickBooks and she knew how to do bookkeeping, and she had been breaking her neck trying to find a physical place to work that would, allow her to cover daycare for her 18-year-old and, get back on her feet. So I simply asked her, had she ever heard of Upwork, which was Elance at the time, or the Freelance .com. Like, what do you say to someone who, what do you think, first of all, is the opportunity for someone in that situation where they actually, bookkeeping for sure is a skill, but they may have the digital literacy issue of getting on board to virtual work? What opportunities lie for them if they do have a skill set? And then what challenge is there to maintain a steady income, right, in the world of virtual work? So is it like Definitely. A twofold question, but I'm using her as an example because she's a real person who has a real skill set that, has an 18-month-old. So this is a great, target, like a great example. So
I think part of the challenge is society teaches us to think within a box, no matter our circumstance, no matter where we're coming from. And we have to, one, start thinking beyond how society has taught us to think, and two, become a student of our craft. So one of the things I feel has been a constant theme throughout the conversation is, how do you take what you know and take it to the next level by constantly doing research on it, being willing to say to somebody, hey, will you show me how to use the internet to look something up, to look at all of the different resources? Because even when you go out there and find one resource on how to do freelance, 10 more resources are going to pop up tomorrow. And you can't stop and say, oh, I found this one resource, that's it, buck stops here. You have to say, how do I go beyond that to, number one, stay on top of my skills at all times? How can I find YouTube videos about QuickBooks and new iterations that they have coming out? How do I go to QuickBooks.com itself and look at the videos they have online, or look at lynda.com training online, and then take it and go to something, especially if you're a mom. Core is out there. There's some also smaller, different versions of Mom Core out there, which, once again, just going on the internet, looking it up, being willing to use different search terms to look it up, and then asking people around you. So, if you find a workshop on QuickBooks, why not go and ask people how they get work, or how they become contractors, or what resources they use. One of my life mottos is, we all have something to teach every single person we meet. And we all have something to learn from every single person we meet. It all comes down to whether or not we take the time to sit there and exchange that information. Wow. So, you got to meet people where they are. And it doesn't matter what your history or past may have had in it. What is that person trying to do now and trying to achieve now? So I think, one, by her cousin reaching out to you to ask about those resources, that's that start of becoming a student of your craft to move forward and being willing to learn. And this isn't just something for someone who's been incarcerated before. It's for everybody, something that we limit ourselves from doing because of what society has taught us. So if you're willing to make that commitment to say, no matter what, I'm going to be a student of my craft and keep moving forward, you'll always find a way to excel.
Wonderful, thank you. And as far as the income, what should someone expect? Like, if I'm, let's just say that I am looking for transitional work, or work to get on my feet, and I have the support of friends and family. Maybe my family members have decided that they're going to let me stay with them for a year. Like a lot of times, and we just have to keep it real, right? You're still paying costs of things like restitution, probation fees, right? Like, I think the general population forgets that the sentence does not end at all, like from a financial standpoint, when you get home, right? So someone may not be able to leave their house after 7 p.m. For an entire year, or they have to pay $100 a month for, whatever. Even to cover those types of costs, what role does freelance work, or these platforms, what role can that play? Does it look more like in your, like, what's your best guess? Does it look more like a way to make supplemental income or transitional income, or are you seeing what looks more like a full-time, the potential for full-time income in that situation? Like,
all right, so yeah, here's my soapbox and insight into my mind. So one, be a student of your craft, which means doing the research on how much you should be paid for your skill set. There are always people that are going to try and get over on you and try to pay you less than what you're worth, especially if they feel like they know something about your past. Stick to your guns as far as, I know how much this person is getting paid and we have the exact same skill set. Also figure out how much you need to survive each month. So, all the fees that are being charged by the court system coming out of jail are very real things. How much do you need to pay those, to pay yourself, to put some savings aside for yourself, and work backwards from there to establish how many clients you need, how many people you need to be talking to each month in order to build the client base. Because say you need 5 clients per month, if you only talk to 5 people each month, that's not going to give you 5 clients a month. So there's a great book out there called The Rainmaker, and it talks about the idea of how many people do I need to talk to a month in order to get to the leads, in order to get to the actual clients. So I think that's great for anybody working for themselves. And then the last part of that is, you've gone through, you've said, here's what I need to be charging. What is your best structure for approaching people? So is it paying by the hour, or is it a flat rate? I think lots of times, once again, goes back to society conditions. So society conditions us to, we pay for things by the hour. But maybe that's not the best use of your time. Maybe it is a flat rate where you're able to, one, give your clients a different option, but two, as you get to know your clients and become more efficient in what you're doing, you're not losing money by becoming more efficient and better at your skill. So just take some different approaches to how you look at pricing. Literally, go through and Google different ways to set up pricing structures, or different ways to set up a schedule of fees, and consider all of your options, because that pay by the hour option is not always the best. But one, know how many clients you need and know how much you need to be charging them.
Thank you so much. And then Richard, you spent long nights, right? All-intensive boot camp. You know what this is like, and you still decided that you wanted to put someone else through that experience. So it must not have been that bad. Tell us though, what a challenge. You know, there are some. There's a prison right now doing coding work, and you almost wonder, like, is the isolation, like the fact that this person doesn't have to keep saying no to going to, events with their friends and family in order to stay at a coffee shop and work on their coding boot camp homework. You wonder if that's not an advantage for people while they're still in isolation, or, but tell me, what do you think is the biggest challenge for someone coming just fresh out? Like, when do I start a coding boot camp if I know that I have the support system or the family system that says, hey, we're going to give you an entire year to try to work on this? So it may be for some of the younger people, but still tell us what you think the challenges are.
Okay. I think that what someone mentioned earlier is that just becoming familiar with technology and the way that technology currently is at the time. Taking some time to get on different apps, get on different websites, and see what to expect, what do you want to build. The next thing that I would do is that I would actually take some time to try to learn web development on my own. Those boot camps move so fast that a lot of times it seems like they're teaching you something, but really they're just reviewing something, reviewing some type of knowledge or some type of skill with you. So
Okay.
try to learn as much as you can before you go into the boot camp. The other challenge is that you're going to learn a lot from collaborating with other people. That's one of the main things that you want to do. And as a returning citizen, or even as myself, a lot of my classmates, I didn't have a lot to identify them with. Even though I have a college degree, even though I have plenty of corporate experience, we just didn't identify with a lot of the same things, and it makes it a tad bit harder to collaborate. So go in and acknowledge that I need to learn from you, you need to learn from me, you teach me, I teach you, and keep that in mind. And I think that will help you get through it. As far as like it is long nights, it's probably the most intense academic experience I've had in my life. But I think that the opportunities that come with it, that come from it, or are more than worth it. One thing that I've experienced, and I know I'm kind of getting off topic though, but a lot of people in the technology and the startup industry, they're incredibly welcoming and helpful. Just like all of the panelists, just like the story that Divine said, there's a ton of people that want to help you. And every time that you go in a room or you go into a meetup, there's going to be an opportunity for someone to help you, for you to help them. So those long nights are more than worth it, and there's no telling what type of opportunities come from attending a coding camp. But just go in knowing that this is going to be incredibly hard, and hard work is normal, and get used to hard work, and we can get through it.
Thank you very much. So some of you, I think, kind of answered the next question I was going to ask, is like, then what is the answer? How do you meet that challenge? So let's skip to the next question, and I want to ask all of the panelists, as a community, how can we make it easier to onboard people? We know here at Pentorship that a lot of exposure has to be inserted into curriculum. I'll give you an example. Like right now, during the testing class that we have going on right now, one of the groups came up with an idea for a really cool helmet technology. These aren't proprietary ideas; they're group ideas that they come up with together, so they're not individual proprietary ideas, but they came up with an idea to have a helmet technology that helps to reduce the injury for football players and has a data reporting mechanism to it. So they came up with this really cool idea, no access to the internet. They come up with this amazing tech idea, draw it out, everything. They don't have access to the internet, so I'm in the class the other day and they raised their hand and they're like, what, I guess APIs came up and they're like, Miss Daniel, what's an API? So there's this, even with the curriculum, we're just scratching the surface of addressing the amount of, information that becomes sought after exposure, right? Because you expose somebody to the idea of saying, hey, the most important thing you can learn how to do is solve a problem instead of creating a solution to chase a problem. So you learn that, and then all of a sudden the quality of ideas begin to increase. But then there's more information that we're looking for, right? So I know from Pentorship's perspective that we have to continuously infuse this into the development of the curriculum. But what do you think? What is, for each of your industries, Divine, you are entering into a space where over time you're going to be looking to continuously develop, scale. You may want to hire your peers. Like, what does it take? How can we as a community bring more people into these opportunities who have records? Like, how do we make it work instead of like how do we make this work? For each one of you, I'm going to go across and ask that question, and I think it'll kind of lead us towards the end of the session. So let me start with Divine.
I think that, first of all, I think Del Depp and Kenzie, Kenzie basically summed up what they said about the other question beautifully. It was very, very pinpoint, and really inspired me to be like, wow, like people really do get it. People get it that haven't experienced, they get it. And I think that to add on to what that last question real quick is that self-discipline is really, 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 really important. Having that self-discipline, researching, because that's all I did when I was away. I just researched, and I didn't have the internet. I had to use an interlibrary loan to get books about subjects, about how to write a business plan, read the Wall Street Journal to learn about what's going on in the music industry, read other periodicals on hip-hop and things about the industry that I was trying to enter. So real quick on that, but I think that awareness is really, really key. I think awareness is really, really important. To have that awareness, to be exposed to things that exist, and then create these opportunities for individuals that are coming home. If we put forth a constant effort to really reach out to these individuals to find out, when they're coming home before they even come home, have a program in place to find out when they're coming home, of prisons that's located in an area. Like, there's a lot that employers can do to really reach out to these individuals, more so than just waiting for them individuals to come to them. Like, for instance, when I came home, there was at the halfway house I was at, there was a list of employers that were ex-offender friendly, if you would. But I think that it's really on employers to really put forth a effort to really reach out to these individuals, because these individuals, they need to work, they want to work, and I think that working is a start to keep them on that focus, on that
concentrated
on that path, on that path to where because there's so much going on when you come home, it's overwhelming, and if you don't focus, you're really gonna lose faith, lose hope, and you're gonna go right back to what you know to do, and what you've been doing.
Thank you. Delda, what does it look like? Is it the pre-accelerator to the pre-accelerator for someone who they're on their feet, what does the onboarding look like? How do we bring more returning citizens in after they've gotten to the point that we know is a healthy place to be, in order to take advantage of building something that is repeatable and scalable, versus a smaller business?
Well, I don't think there's anything wrong with having a small business. Let's
Oh
just be
yeah,
clear
no,
with that.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that's not the world that I live in.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important, at least for me, for us to recognize that both as employers and citizens at large, that this is a huge cultural shift that we're about to go through. It's not going to be easy, but it needs to happen. And that this is also, as many other folks have said before, like this is an untapped pool of talent that cannot be disposable and cannot be unrecognized. And I think that that's really important to highlight. And so, both larger companies that have taken on the fact that they're going to ban the box, and smaller employers, I think it's important that when you have somebody in front of you and you're looking to hire them, that you really have a full understanding who they are and where they come from, what their passions are and what their skill sets are. And that those things are not, that intersectionality is important. Like you can't separate somebody's, all of their experiences out of it, and that there might come a savviness and a knowledge base that otherwise we wouldn't have access to from people who are returning. So I think that that's an important thing to note. The other thing is like, as my mom, who I love, used to say, she's like, when I was young, people would say, the great thing about being a musician is that you're learning always. The great thing about being an artist is that you're always learning. And the reality is that today, it doesn't matter who you are and what line of work you're doing, you have to be continuously learning. And so that curiosity and a knowledge of how to study, those things are going to lead you to have a lifetime of updates. Just like our computers get updated and our phones get updated and all the gadgets around us get updated, we too have to update ourselves. So when you were saying, oh, I've done all this curriculum and then they're asking me this other piece, well, guess what? That's always going to happen. Because there's always going to be some new innovation. There's always going to be something new that's going to come along. You're always going to need to learn something new. And so as long as you come into it knowing that, I think it's helpful. It's not the sort of thing where it's like, back in the day where it's like, oh, I got my high school degree, I'm good.
Right.
Oh, no, I got my GED, I'm good. No, I got my AA degree, I'm good. I got my BA, I'm good. No, it's like now, it doesn't matter what degree you have. If you don't have a degree, that doesn't matter. It matters that you're continuously learning and updating yourself and that you're curious. And so I would say from our perspective of the things that we look for in people that are going through our program, we're about to announce our second class and I'm really excited about that, is we're looking for people who are curious, who have a great work ethic, and have a knowledge base and understanding of the problem that they want to solve. I think that people who are reentering have specific needs. Their families have specific needs. I know that we have had certain needs when people are coming back that nobody is solving. Single moms, single parents out there, single grandparents out there, they have specific needs that nobody is solving. This is a great marketplace in which we have a unique understanding of the needs that we have and how to solve them. So it could be something as simple as, hey, if grandma's taking care of the children, what are the things that she needs to be able to make sure that those kids are safe and well taken care of? Is there an app that you can build around that? Is there a service you can build up around that? I don't know. Maybe there is. If someone out there is having a hard time with depression, is there some sort of program that you can create that you can get paid a little bit of money and be doing some good in the world? Because that's the other thing, I think, like this paradigm of you either do good in the world or you make money, that's also changed.
Right.
You can make money out of doing good. And you should get paid for doing good. And good work deserves to be remunerated. And Kenzie, you said that. It's like, it's not about how much you earn per hour. It's about how good is your work so that you can charge a maximum amount of work, for it. It's about being recognized for doing that good work and for people to be willing to give you that money. And so I think that's a very different model, and we're entering into it. And so it's important to also have that understanding of when you do good work, you get paid well.
Love it. Love. Okay, Kenzie.
Yes. So another one of my soapboxes. I have many. So I would love for, and this is going to ruffle some feathers of somebody in some government somewhere, but I would love for us to take a different look on how we sentence people. Why are we sending so many people directly to jail for criminal offenses where they could go into a program like a pre-accelerator type pentorship type deal where they're going in and learning new skills or exploring things that they love in order to build companies or in order to get jobs and create jobs and things. And when we think about the reason why most people commit crimes, it usually has to do with supporting for their family or some type of necessity. So when you think about the idea of getting a job and accelerating, and the person with the most magnificent idea and brain just may not have access to the people they need to have access to in order to create that job or create that product. So when we have people that are entering into the court systems, I would love for us to take a fresh look instead of automatically sentencing people. The problem with that is actually creating a way for sheriffs to enforce that. And I say that, once again, coming from the child of a judge who was trying to create that type of atmosphere the whole time, enforcing it. So I see a vision for what we can do differently. I also see a vision where we need to have more judges that do want to make a difference getting involved and speaking out. Because when you look at corporations, when you look at companies, when you look at just individuals and who they're hiring and who they trust in the idea of actually hiring somebody that was once incarcerated, it needs to be the judges who can speak out and who are helping get involved in these programs, which can help, therefore, create trust. I feel like we as a group can speak out all we want to, but until you get back to the person that either made the arrest or sentenced the person but says, I want to make a difference within the community and we can do more, that's what's going to change the tide. I really don't know what it's going to take for us to get there. I like to think with technology and around it, but I think it's, a couple people having the conversation and sparkling the idea and telling everybody, because I tell everybody I can.
Wonderful. Well said. This is so good. So, Richard, how do we get more returning citizens? How do we get people into coding boot camps and what computer programming? Even if it how do we get them into a program like the one that Journey offers?
I think the main thing is just number one, the exposure as far as the opportunities that are available with technology that can be created with technology. I never thought that I would be involved with a startup or a workforce startup. I was working in sales, and like someone said earlier, it was all about the money. Once I started to volunteer and actually help somebody, that's when I saw all the opportunities that could become available. So exposing them to individuals in technology, having individuals in technology speaking to individuals that are incarcerated and getting the technology into the prison so that they can start to learn and make use of their time while they're there. I happen to know a couple incredible returning citizens, and they inspire me all the time with the things that they've done since they've returned with the help of technology. So I think that just getting that technology in their hands a little bit sooner and making those resources available is what we need to do. The returning citizens, like I said, that I've met, they're extremely disciplined, extremely determined to get things done. But it's just that the resources aren't always there. For me, I use my savings to move to New York and go to school, and we can't expect that everybody is going to be able to do that. So just making that accessible is a good start.
Awesome. Well, you guys, this panel, I'm telling you, these are so good because I feel like I've learned so much from you guys. But I'm so excited that we've had a nice viewing audience as well. I'm sure they're enjoying it, and we're getting a lot of tweets about how much people love the things that you all are saying. So, yeah, we'll stop there, but we definitely have to continue this conversation. Like I said, it was the almost just a scratch of the surface of the little sub categories of topics that we were discussing. So you may get another invite to speak again, or what, maybe we'll do something. Well, maybe we'll do another follow-up to this combo because it's just great. I mean, it's so much. So, but thank you very much to all of our panelists, and thank you, audience, for tuning in. And we will see you at the top of the year, sometime in late January for the next webinar or live broadcast. So everyone, happy holidays. Thank you for tuning in, and that is all. Thanks.
Thank you.